Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each week we'll give you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I am Benedikte and I'm feeling trusting.
And I'm Benedikt. Today is August 6th. This is episode number 206 and I'm feeling excited.
Ooh, because it's August 6th and it's episode 206. Is that what you're excited about?
No, actually, I'm going to a concert with a friend tonight, and I'm looking forward to that. But I'm also pleasantly surprised and excited that apparently today is our 5th year anniversary of publishing this podcast.
Well, it's your 5th anniversary. I'm at year 2 something. 2. We should have.
Yeah,
we need to plan these better. We should have a Brian on for this one.
Maybe, yeah, but like honestly, we didn't. I didn't remember at all until this morning when I woke up to a message from Krista who said that it's our 5-year anniversary according to Transistor.
Krista's got our back, like we talked about on last.
As usual.
As usual. Maybe they should be upgraded to like producer and then be in charge of like reminding us 2 weeks in advance so that we, could bring Brian on or like whatever, is.
Honestly, like if we were like a super professional setup and team here, we should probably do that. But I feel like we are not that at this stage, at least not with this show.
That is true.
This is more of a show up and do the recording thing.
That's true. I am getting a lot of pitches in my LinkedIn inbox though for Slow and Steady guests. So
yeah, I get a lot of them in the email inbox as well, and I ignore them all.
Me too. But let's go. What have you done? So let's get into it. What have you done?
Yeah, honestly, it feels like kind of slow, but it's also like, I don't know. Overall, I feel like this summer is different compared to previous summers in that it didn't really slow down. And I was wondering if that's just like because of us, because I mean, the product is a little bit more mature. Maybe we're like more attractive to the audiences and stuff like that. But from what I'm hearing from Katarina, who does a lot of community outreach and stuff like that, even the communities aren't that slow. And that's definitely not because of us. So I'm not sure. Maybe the previous years was just slower in general. I mean, but there was COVID, like everyone was working, no one was on vacation. So what? I don't know.
We were exhausted though.
Yeah, true. Last year, I assumed that everyone just took the opportunity to like take a long break over summer and like actually go on proper vacations. And maybe everyone's properly rested now and they're all working through this summer. I don't know, but I'm not complaining because it's kind of nice that there's more activity and stuff like that. Yeah.
We just went through the numbers and that said yesterday, and we're seeing the same. Like we've been used to having a summer slump and we're not seeing much of a summer slump.
Yeah.
So
it's not there for whatever reason. Yeah.
So something's up. Like now that you mention it, because I thought like we're growing slowly and steadily, but so I thought maybe it was just like part of that. But Jeff was like, yeah, this is a good July. Like July usually isn't this good. There's also a little bit of a dip. And now when you're mentioning it too, is like, and it feels very kind of wrong with like, the market's crashing yesterday and other things that are going around. I'm like, why is this why are we not having a slump in like SaaS businesses? Like what's up? But this is above my pay grade to analyze. I should probably ask my father.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. And I'm not complaining at all.
No.
I feel a little bit bad for Mia, our new support hire, because when we hired her, we pitched her with like, you'll be joining in summer. It's usually slow. There's not a lot of stuff going on. And on Monday, we had our weekly call, and she was like, last week I did get nothing else done but customer support. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I mean, that's just how it is. And sorry for not delivering on the promise of a slow summer.
It's good for the business, but sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's not like a belated everybody taking their vacation and like suddenly we get like this really bad August. It's going to be interesting to see if it's like a general uptick or if it's just like shifted and everybody's taking their vacations later because they're stuck inside in the heat right now and they are, I don't know.
Could be.
It could be. So just because I remembered you saying this last time that you were stuck in the heat, I don't know if I mentioned it that, but after that, I read a newspaper article where Norway now is like capitalizing both on our currency being really bad, so it's cheap for most people to come here, but
Mhm.
also on this new trend, cool occasion or something, where like people want to travel to cooler places, like not cool, but cool as in cold.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it turns out that that's what, I mean, that is basically Norwegian summer, right? It's not that warm. So we are capitalizing on both. And there has been like a lot of tourists in the city. So, I believe this newspaper article, but in terms of trends, it's interesting to see us like coming up as a, place people want to go for their summer vacation, even if they aren't the very outdoorsy type. I mean, we've always had people come for either just viewing the beautiful West Coast fjords, like in a cruise ship, like in and out, or like the people who really want to do the hiking and that kind of thing. But now we're more of like a general location just because of global warming, I guess. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting how everything like shifts
mhm.
to the north, I guess. Recently read an article that like champagne is champagne because it's like from a certain region,
Mhm.
but apparently because of climate change, that nice climate is like actually more like in the south of the UK now. So actually, the good sparkly wine is actually now not champagne, but like whatever it's called there,
Yeah, I had some
which
of
I thought
that
was interesting.
and it was very good. And I don't remember what it was
Yeah,
called
it
either. We
seems
just
to
called it British champagne, even though they're not,
British champagne. Yeah, but that's I thought it's so interesting that like that brand. I mean, it's still a brand, I guess, and people still buy it, but it's not actually based on facts anymore, I
yeah.
guess.
No, because I think to use the word champagne, you have to be from the region, but then you can make
Yeah.
the same wine just under like a different name. And it's also
Yep.
been on even on the I think even on the west coast of Norway. We used to have these apple farms, or we've
Hmm.
always had apple farms, but they have also now started experimenting with wine because there are like pockets
Hmm.
of valleys that are getting enough for like a very short season, I think. So yeah, lots of interesting things
Yeah.
happening.
Interesting developments. Yeah.
Interesting developments. Let's just leave it at that. But come to Norway, y'all, and live in my Airbnb.
Oh, that's a nice segue. How is that going?
So I feel like all of these years doing things on the internet has prepped us a little bit because Ola was like, let's just make an ad. I was like, yeah, we need photos, we need this and that. And he was like, let's just like put 2 photos up and some description and just like let's see. And then we've been slowly like working on the ad or working on the listing. It's starting to be pretty good, but we already have 3 bookings. So not for like a high
Hmm.
amount of money, but what we did is like we put it out pretty cheap with like minimal amount of photos and with disclaimers in the text being like, there's a cat living here, the kitchen isn't done, it's a rustic rustic uh, property and stuff like that. So but it just made me like think to like all that. I feel like my friends, if they would do the same thing with their like normal jobs, would have everything in order first and like make sure they had really nice photos and like worked on the listing and like had everything set up and like ready to go, and then probably wouldn't get any bookings for a while because like we needed to capitalize also on it being August and like getting the people who are here late summer. So it's been fun to see like that same kind of like MVP approach to
Hmm.
to launching an Airbnb location is also working. I mean, it works in our favor that we're downtown Oslo, so we kind of knew that people want to be here, but um, just getting, I think Ola got it up in like 2 days, and then we've just been tweaking it ever since. And we get our first guest coming tomorrow. So it's mayhem at the property right now. I have a cleaning lady, I have the neighbor kid, Ula and Lillian is out getting new pillows and duvets because when we looked at the ones we had, we were like, yeah, no, let's not. We're not gonna.
Yeah.
That's not gonna pass.
That's maybe a little bit too rustic.
Little too rustic. So things are happening around here. But I was just like, I'm locking all my doors. I'm doing the podcast, and I've also been sitting and working today, trying to, let people work on the Airbnb stuff without me. But then I go through and like style things a little bit because I got a better eye for just like moving things around a little bit, and it looks tidier, it looks nicer. But yeah, and Lily's got her first job. So for 10 USD, she has to do the beds, buy snacks, flowers, and like set that all up so that when the person comes, it like it's a very welcoming environment.
Nice. That's a cool job.
Mm-hmm. And she was like, "Can I do it? Can I do it?" And then I said yes. And then it took a while, and then she was like, "Can I get money for it?" I'm like, "Yes, you can get money. This is an actual income to the family, and if you do that, you can get a little bit." And she's actually done a lot more. She did like a nightstand. She's very involved. I think because it's so hands-on, she can like feel the business a lot more, and she knows that we work together as a family on the digital stuff. But like here, she can really contribute, so she's very excited about this. But unfortunately, she's away at band camp when our first Airbnb guest is here, so she won't experience them.
Well, there will be more, I guess.
There will be more. Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Do you have any more work that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I don't. There's not a lot of stuff going on right now. We're chipping away at like product stuff here and there, small improvements. We actually ended up making bigger changes to our authentication setup than I initially anticipated. But I think ultimately it's for the better because all the other solutions that we came up with felt very tacked on and like not proper. And after we are talking about authentication after all, I felt like we should maybe not duct tape too much on top of it and like keep to proven setups. So that's what we did, and restructured things a little bit. And we now have an authentication server. Which sounds super fancy, but basically we have a new server rendered part of the app that just does login and then redirects to the single page application with an auth token and stuff like that. So
why did you feel a need for that shift?
So the primary reason for that shift was previously the backend was just an API, at least for the vast majority of stuff, and stuff that touched like the actual UI, that was all single page application and our API. But in order to support stuff like two-factor authentication and things like that, we had to figure out a way how to do this with an API only application. And because we were using OAuth for all that authentication stuff between front end and back end, and OAuth in itself does not have any concept or any knowledge about like two-factor authentication, how that works. And we played around with like tacking something on top of those standards and flows and stuff like that. But it didn't feel right. Like it felt very, as I said, very like duct tape to the actual thing. So now we're still using OAuth, but when like we previously were using the password grant scheme where you basically send email and password to an endpoint and get a token. And now we're doing the thing that everyone else knows in terms of like redirecting to a website where you then log in and then get redirected back. And that way we can do whatever we want on that server side login part. So right now it's just a login, but we're planning to add the two-factor authentication stuff there and then redirect. Once everything is done, we redirect back to the UI. And the UI doesn't have to know anything about what happened over there, which, yeah, makes it also a little bit easier for the UI work because, it has different downsides. Let's put it that way. Previously, we would have to figure out how to do this in the API, build UI in the single page application, build API endpoints and stuff like that, and move data around and all of that stuff. And now that we don't have to do any of that, but now we also have to maintain front end styling and CSS on the backend application. So we ended up splitting. Well, not actually splitting. Like we have a dedicated build pipeline for styling on the back end now, which we didn't have for 7 years. And I copied some of the styling from the front end to the back end, like literally just copied it over, so we can get a bare minimum set of like styles for the forms and stuff like that. And I guess once we update the styles, we have to, like, at least in batches, move stuff over and update it, which is also a little bit annoying, but it's easier that way than trying to come up with a system that works with both, and then we change something on the front end and forget to update the back end. And I don't know, like this way, at least it might get out of sync, but at least it will look fine while it's out of sync and not accidentally break. So I hope it will be good. So yeah, that's the part we did over the last couple of days. And
that's interesting. I'm getting more and more interested.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have any questions. I'm trying to.
Okay, you don't have. Okay, cool. The other thing we've been working on is chipping away at some like super weird bugs that don't necessarily, like, I don't fully get why it's happening. For example, with just one of the new customers, they're using our segment integration, and segment basically has a standardized way of integrating. They have a spec and everything, and we implemented that, and it's been working for, I don't know, 6 years for the most part. And now with this one new customer, they're not sending payloads. Segment is not sending any payloads. They send requests, but they're empty. Well, actually, they're not empty. The only thing in there is null, N-U-L-L, instead of a JSON object.
So are you in contact with Segment, or are you in contact with the customer, or how are you trying to handle this?
I was hoping for it to just go away for the last couple of days.
That was just an intermittent error.
It's the internet. Something's always broken, but it didn't go away. So today I started looking into that. We weren't tracking like which customer this error belongs to, so I added stuff like that to figure out who's actually affected by this. And now today we reached out to them asking for someone from their tech team to get in touch with us, because something weird is going on, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. Because it doesn't seem like it's a segment issue per se, because other customers that are on segment are just fine. So must be something specific to what they're doing.
Yeah, like it's a segment issue, but they're doing some kind of weird segmenting that is kind of like canceling something out.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, no, like I can't deal with this.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's the process. Like one of the things we have to figure out. And then the other weird bug we had was a customer having problem. Like they were duplicating broadcasts in the UI, and then sometimes the entire user interface would just like stop working and be stuck in a weird, like some of the fields would be stuck in loading states and nothing would work anymore. Like they could not click on anything and stuff like that. And at first it was like, what's going on? That's weird. I don't get it. We asked them to send screenshots. I think they even did a video. Don't quite remember, but there were no errors on their side. It was just stuck, properly stuck. So I couldn't figure it out for the longest time. But then I started noticing errors in our front end error tracking that were related to, like, looked like they were related, where we got an error from our data management library on the front end that was just like trying to access something that was null for whatever reason. And then I think I spent an entire day on it, and Leo, our front end developer, spent an entire day on it, just trying to reproduce the issue. And we both couldn't. Like, we could not figure it out. We tried, like, I mean, it's probably a race condition or something like that. And we tried to force it by like using request throttling in the browser and like clicking stuff in weird sequences, clicking stuff super fast, double clicking, reloading, like all of the stuff you try, right? And it just wasn't possible. And then on Monday, I think we spent like 45 minutes or so trying to retrace the error again, and like praise pair programming. While we were retracing it, I was driving and like just like trying to go through the code, and by accident, Leo was like looking at a adjacent piece of code and was like, "Hey, this doesn't seem right. There should be something slightly different." And we were both looking at it, like, Yeah, that's probably the thing. And so we changed it, and I'm still waiting for confirmation that it's gone. But so far, the error hasn't shown up again.
But that's so hard with these weird bugs because, like, how are you gonna verify that it's gone? Because it doesn't happen every time. So it's like,
No,
if it goes 2 months, 3 months, like, when is it gone? Because we had
like,
an
yeah.
outstanding bug in Outside, I think, for years, where because we still have like a what you see is what you get kind of input
Hmm.
box, and the image icon would just like disappear. And then you reload
Yeah,
and it's there, and I've had it happen, but you can't, you're not managing to capture anything because it's just, as you're saying, it's just like happening totally random, and the customers would report in like it's happening, and then when we're using our own tool for support, like that's a location where it was, we were
hmm,
all seeing it. And I don't remember what the solution was, but finally Dave, I think, or Bernard were like, oh, and then it was like a one line code change or
yeah,
something, and that's
yep,
been a month and a half or something, and we haven't, like, it's not back. And I think it was
yeah,
like an obvious thing when you found it, um but it's also, it wasn't like critical, so the support would just be like reload
yeah,
the page. But it's annoying when those little things just like hang there and hang there and hang there.
yeah, exactly. And funny enough, the solution to the duplicate not working properly
Mm,
was also just to reload
yeah.
the page. Like, it gets stuck, reloaded, it was working fine. So
And this is the great thing with browser apps instead of
right, you could just
native
restart it
apps.
easily.
You just restart.
But yeah, like my plan for now is to wait until the end of the week, and if the error hasn't shown up again, it's probably fine because it showed up a couple times per day, per week. Like, it was happening. At least the error we were seeing in the exception logging was there more often. So I hope it will be gone. If not, then we start from scratch, I guess.
I've had some fun ones with where I'm getting reports from the operations team, and they're like, this isn't working, it used to work. And I go look at the code and it's like, this code has not changed for 8 months. Like, when did you last remember it working? And it's like, no, it worked like a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, yeah, no. Like the conditions were not the same, cannot be the same, because like this code has absolutely not changed. And then I go and look at the code and I'm like, this has never worked. Like, what you are telling me used to work is because you're probably so it was like a auth kind of thing where we have some pages that we skip auth on because we have a unique ID for the event, so people can reschedule directly from their email, or the operations folks can go in to that link and reschedule for people or support people. And it was blocked for everyone but logged in users. So I think they've just been logged in as themselves, and that's why they've had access, like as their own, like being a customer. But they were like, no, we never used to have to log in. And I'm like, well, for 8 months, like, there's no way this let you in without being logged in. Like, it's just no way. So those are fun to track down. And when you look at code like that, and I put it on Twitter, I'm like, you ever look at code and you're like, this does not do what I pretty sure the attention was. And then one guy wrote in, he was like, yeah, and then you fixed that bug and you realized two bugs were canceling each other out, and now you've made it worse. And I'm just like, and I was like, I'm crossing my finger. That's not what's happening. And I like
Yeah,
double and
yeah,
triple and quadruple checked that I was not being allowed into the actual authenticated pages, because you want to, as you say, you want to make sure that things are correct. But like, I'm gonna need to do a full auth, or like at least routing, like how our routes are handled and which ones are inside and outside and stuff like that. But before that, I am just chasing, like, I didn't like Next just because I don't like the vibe. I'm using Next now. I just like it less and less, and I'm like so close to like rewriting the whole thing, but I shall not. I shall not rewrite the whole thing. But I might start pulling out the logged in pages as a React app, like just a standalone React app, because there's so much added complexity. There's so many ways you can like shoot yourself in the foot. And they've gone from something called like the pages directory to the app directory. And our app is like in between the two versions. And I just tracked down an error that keeps happening intermittently that is because we're using something that works in the pages and then it's reused in the app directory, but it doesn't work in the app directory because it only works in the pages directory. And I haven't completely read up on the difference of these two approaches, but it's just like there's so much. And people used to complain about the Gatsby upgrades because they were so intense and like it was so bad, and everybody switched to Next because it was so much simpler. These upgrades, I tell you, they are way past anything we needed to do in Gatsby Land. So that was my rant.
Yeah, sounds like fun.
And I'm trying to upgrade to the latest at least, so I can. I would just want to be able to run the project and not like see random errors. But we'll see if so that I can, like, when I start doing my work, you know that you're not introducing these things. But I managed to remove stuff, which is always good. Like I found packages that weren't in use, and I just removed their whole like instrumentation package because it was failing in tests. So I'm just trying to slowly like remove things, and then I can add them back in if needed, instead of trying to fix every little, because most of it is like packages out of sync, or that Vercel has updated their hosting environment and then they're not, so our packages don't work with the hosting environment anymore. It's you don't deal with these things because you were smart and didn't get into JavaScript.
We still do plenty of JavaScript.
But you don't do server-side code and client-side code with JavaScript in the same file, where most developers don't understand what is running where, and it's
we don't do that.
A lot of issues when folks try to do server-side stuff and then runs client-side or the other way around, and it's a mess. Rant over. I promise. Rant over. And I'm not gonna rewrite.
That's that's how you can tell that you've done this a couple of times.
But I so want to.
I know, but it's still a bad idea.
I know. I just have to like say it every now and then be like, okay, get back to it. Let's chip away. But I might chip away until there's only a React app left, and then I can move it out of Next.
Yeah, true. But it's still better than starting from scratch on a greenfield project and trying to catch up with the actual thing.
Like, oh, I'm going to do Laravel now because it's hot on the Twitter, and like rewrite the whole thing in Laravel, because then I would be done. Never next. I don't know.
Yeah. As much as I love learning new stuff and new technologies, that's not the way. Not the time and moment to do it.
But anyway,
until
next time. Or do you have any more updates?
I might. Well, we have a database upgrade planned for Sunday, so
I got the email.
So far, nothing exciting to tell, but maybe it will be big disaster now.
I mean, for our podcast, I kind of want it to be a disaster, but for you, I don't want it to be a disaster.
Yeah, the dry run went well. Other than it taking a little long, and the problem was I was dry running the upgrades I wanted to do, and they all took long enough that I got distracted while waiting for them to finish. So I don't know exactly how long they take. I know that I noticed they are done after 45 minutes, but they might have been done for half an hour already. I don't know. So, but I should be fine. And Sunday morning, I scheduled it for Sunday morning, where there's probably not a lot of stuff going on. Or actually, I know there's not a lot of stuff going on, so it should be fine.
Okay, I'm crossing everything.
Yeah. Thank you. And me too, for like your first Airbnb guests. I hope they leave a 5-star review.
I hope so too. See you around the interwebs.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.